Good evening, I'm Michael and you're watching Kini News, the show that brings you today's biggest stories. For the first time since Anwar Ibrahim's startling announcement, Muhyiddin Yassin has publicly responded to the PKR leader. Muhyiddin Yassin has revealed that he has received confirmation from the Attorney General that he was still the Prime Minister. Speaking at a rally in Tambunan, Muhyiddin said if he was legally no longer Prime Minister, he would have been summoned to face the young di-Pertuan Agong.
This is what is provided in the Constitution. And I'm acting in accordance with the Constitution. So I am still constitutionally a Prime Minister.
However, Muhyiddin said if it is proven that he no longer commands the support of the majority, he would have two options.
Kalaulah disebabkan saya sudah tidak mendapat majoriti yang disebutkan oleh Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, dan saya pun dah dititah untuk menghadap yang belum lagi dititah menghadap. Ini andaian saja, an assumption. Maka barulah saya boleh buat dua perkara. Perkara yang pertama ialah untuk memaklumkan bahawa kalau dah begitu keadaannya, maka saya akan mengosongkan kursi. Which basically means next time I come here, I'm just a visitor.
But that's just one option. Muhyiddin has another.
Dan saya serah surat untuk letak jawatan sebagai Perdana Menteri. Kalau Agong terima, maka kosong jawatan itu maka akan diisi. Atau ada perkara yang kedua. Kalau saya fikirkan keadaan situasi yang ada di negara kita begitu rupa, bukan kerana saya nak kekal sebagai Perdana Menteri, tetapi ikut peruntukan dalam perlembagaan, maka saya akan kata pada yang di-Pertuan Agong, tuanku, bahawa ikut situasi dan pandangan parti ingin nak mengesyorkan pada bawah duli tuanku untuk parlimen ini dibubarkan. Dan kalau yang di-Pertuan Agong berkenan, which means the Agong consent untuk membubarkan, maka Parlimen Malaysia akan terbubar. Kalau terbubar, Anwar Ibrahim jadi Perdana Menteri yang menunggu saja.
On Wednesday, Anwar claimed that he has secured majority support but stopped short of naming his list of supporters pending an audience with the young di-Pertuan Agong, who is currently receiving medical treatment. Anwar's claim was reinforced by a statement from Amno President Ahmad Zahid Hamidi, who acknowledged that the PKR leader now had the support of many Amno MPs. Today marked the first time Muhyiddin had publicly addressed Anwar's claim. Muhyiddin assured listeners that he was not power crazy and his priority now was to resolve problems caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. For Najib Abdul Razak, the party's position will be his position when it comes to Anwar Ibrahim. Former Prime Minister Najib Abdul Razak told reporters last night that as a party man, he will support the party's decision on whether or not it will support Anwar Ibrahim's bid to form a new government.
No, it's just speculative at this stage. What is important that we are all party members, and I'm a party man, and whatever will be decided by the party, I will support that.
However, according to Najib, nothing is set in stone yet.
Well, obviously there might be MPs who are in that category, but what is important is the decision of the party. And let us wait for the time when we'll make an official stand on this issue. All right?
Any impact whatsoever on the outcome of the polls?
On the polls, I don't think so. I think people probably have already made up their mind, and I think they have a sense of what is good for the future of Sabah.
Najib was responding to Amno President Ahmad Zahid Hamidi's statement that many MPs from BN and Amno have voiced support for Anwar to form a new government. Amno currently has 39 MPs who are supporting Muhyiddin Yassin's PN government. However, Amno is not officially part of the ruling coalition. Those seeking an audience with His Majesty will need to wait at least 1 week, according to Istana Negara officials. The young di-Pertuan Agong Sultan Abdullah Sultan Ahmad Shah will not grant an audience to anyone for a week, as he is under observation at a hospital, a palace official told Reuters today. This comes as opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim seeks a meeting with him to form a new government. Anwar said this week he has secured a strong and formidable majority from lawmakers in parliament to oust Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin. But he has to convince the king that he has the numbers to form a new government. The political turmoil comes just 7 months after another power struggle that led to Muhyiddin getting the premiership and could delay efforts to stabilize an economy that is reeling from the impact of the coronavirus pandemic. Muhyiddin, who has a razor-thin majority in parliament, has dismissed Anwar's claims. Palace Comptroller Ahmad Fadil Samsudin also told Reuters that His Majesty has been advised by his doctors to remain at the hospital for 7 days for observation. Until then, he will not have any meetings. PAS and Amno are seeking explanations from each other, while Bersatu needs no explanation. If I'm confusing you, don't worry, this next story will explain everything. PAS is seeking an explanation from its Muafakat national partner Amno on whether there are changes in support by the party's lawmakers towards Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin. This comes after Amno President Ahmad Zahid Hamidi said that many Amno and BN MPs have expressed support for Anwar to form a new government. PAS Secretary General Taqiyuddin Hassan said if this was true, it could be seen as a movement to bring down the Perikatan National Government, which was formed under the cooperation among BN, Bersatu, PAS, GPS and several other parties. He added if BN and Amno's support for Anwar is true, it means Amno did not obey the agreement as stated in the Muafakat National Charter, which was launched on September 14th last year. Zahid, in his prior statement, had said that the party cannot stop any of its MPs who have chosen to back Anwar. In response to Taqiyuddin's statement, Ashraf Wajdi Dusuki has called on PAS leaders to explain why the Islamist Party joined Perikatan Nasional as a component member. Ashraf said as both parties need explanations from each other, it can be done during the Muafakat Nasional meeting next week. The Amno youth leader also called on PAS to focus on the Sabah election first. In the meantime, Bersatu Secretary General Hamzah Zainuddin said his party will not seek clarifications from Zahid regarding the apparent change in allegiances by some Amno MPs. This was because those on the purported list of Amno MPs who were said to be switching allegiances from Muhyiddin Yassin to Anwar Ibrahim have denied doing so. Hamzah said there have also been statements by PAS warning Amno against siding with Anwar. With voting set to take place tomorrow, Sabah continues to lead as the state with the highest number of new cases. Here's the country's latest COVID-19 situation. Malaysia reported 111 new COVID-19 cases today, of which 107 were locally transmitted cases, and the remaining 4 were imported cases. Sabah continues to be the state with the highest number of new cases, with 97 new infections. 74 cases in Sabah are linked to the Bangau-Bangau cluster and 13 are from the Benteng LD cluster. Kedah saw 8 new infections, with 1 new case each in Pahang and Selangor respectively. A new cluster has also emerged in Johor known as the Orkim cluster. This cluster involves the crew of a ship docked at the Pasir Gudang port. The cluster now has 2 positive cases. No new deaths related to COVID-19 were reported today. Meanwhile, the Health Ministry has advised those going out to vote in the Sabah state election tomorrow to fully comply with the SOPs set at polling stations as well as general SOPs, which include face coverings, social distancing and the maintenance of good hygiene by frequently washing hands. Coming up next, watch how a crowd booed the US president. As President Donald Trump was paying his respects to the late Supreme Court Justice, a crowd began to boo. US President Donald Trump was greeted with jeers and boos by a nearby crowd on Thursday as he visited the late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's flag-draped coffin outside the US Supreme Court. Trump, wearing a black face mask and accompanied by First Lady Melania Trump, stood near the casket at the Marble Court building amid chants of, quote, "Vote him out." The moment highlighted the public flashpoint that Ginsburg's death has become ahead of the November 3rd presidential election. The Republican president, who has already installed 2 top court picks since taking office in 2017, has said that he would unveil his latest choice on Saturday, a week after the 87-year-old justice died on September 18th. His decision to move quickly on a replacement just 6 weeks before the election has drawn sharp battle lines between Republicans and Democrats and has reshaped the race for the White House as Trump seeks re-election during a coronavirus pandemic that has killed more than 200,000 people in the United States and devastated the economy. Ginsburg, appointed by Democratic President Bill Clinton in 1993, was an icon for liberals, especially as the court grew increasingly conservative. Her death sparked a renewed push by Democrats to get people to the polls in November and an outpouring of campaign donations. Trump dismissed the protests. Later in the day, he said, quote, "I think that was just a political chant. We could hardly hear it from where we were." The White House spokesperson called the chants appalling and disrespectful. Trump's election opponent, Democrat Joe Biden, will pay his respects to Ginsburg on Friday at the U.S. Capitol. Pro-democracy activist Joshua Wong was arrested by Hong Kong police. Hong Kong police have arrested prominent democracy activist Joshua Wong for his involvement in last year's protests. He said authorities claimed that he was arrested for participating in an unauthorized assembly in October 2019 and for violating the city's anti-mask law. The law, which is no longer in place, prevented people from wearing masks in public in order to help police identify protesters. 23-year-old Wong is the latest in a string of activists being charged after last year's pro-democracy protests. The unrest prompted Beijing to impose a sweeping national security law on June 30th. It punishes anything China considers as subversive, secession, terrorism and collusion with foreign forces with up to life in prison. Speaking to the media after being released on bail, Wong had this to say.
So I urge the international community, instead of only focusing on prominent activists just like me, I wish more people can pay attention to how 12 detainees are still being detained in Shenzhen and with the secret detention, which is totally violate on human rights. And it's time to urge the government stop the political prosecution. Chilling effect is not the way out, and it will not cause us to surrender.
His longtime colleague, Agnes Chow, and 2 other activists were among 10 people arrested in August on suspicion of violating the new law. Media tycoon Jimmy Lai was also detained weeks earlier on suspicion of colluding with foreign forces. Wong was just 17 years old when he became the face of the 2014 student-led umbrella movement democracy protests, but he was not a leading figure of the often violent unrest that shook Hong Kong last year. Wong has been a frequent visitor to Washington. He appealed to the US Congress to support Hong Kong's democracy movement. His visits drew anger from Beijing, which says he is a black hand of foreign forces. And that is all from me today. For more stories, you can go to KiniTV.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube and Facebook for the latest news updates. Join us tomorrow for our Sabah election coverage. I'm Prasad Michael. Thank you for watching.